Disappointment is really like what you feel when someone doesn't meet your expectations that you have of them. And I'm not sure it's always fair to impose those expectations.
Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhyme that are coming
That
from
statement,
my mind.
Republicans don't buy. Republicans buy shoes too. I think is in some ways encapsulates exactly how MJ presented himself and was presented to America by the NBA.
Yeah, no, it's a rough statement, and he proposes that he's, it was something that he said kind of like in jest, and whatnot, and you could see like that, a lot of people were counting on him, and he didn't want to take that step. So, and it's funny, like when in the interview with Obama, you could tell there he was trying to gently like say that he was disappointed.
Yeah.
In MJ. And I think and I understand why a lot of people were. I just think, and this is not an excuse for him, it's actually what he said. Like, he just wasn't involved in any of that. Like, he wasn't an activist. He wasn't going to be on the front lines. He didn't know, like, he probably doesn't know a ton of, things that were going on in the world. Like, he was all about himself, really. That's what he said. And so, and part of it was business. I think part of it, he was right. Like, why am I going to say something and risk what I've built, So, it is a disappointing thing. I mean, that would have elevated Jordan even more. But on the same token, there's a part of me that says, you shouldn't be forced to have to do something you're not comfortable with. You know what I mean? And people will bring up Muhammad Ali, but like, there's only one Muhammad Ali. You can't have 1,000 Muhammad Alis. And then you have other people who, who, in my opinion, like, you have like dudes like Eric Reed who are really like gung ho, but then there's like no, he's very abrasive to even other people, and as far as like working things out.
Yeah.
And so, there's like these all these different lanes that people go through, and Jordan just didn't want to be a part of it. So, I'm still disappointed that he could at least done that. And I think that would, especially, what was that in North Carolina?
Yep.
Like, it's not like it's like, the most populated place. Like, maybe if he had the numbers, he would have realized, like, look, that probably won't affect your sales at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, but then again, I'm like, he's his own man. He could do whatever he wants to do.
It's very complicated. I thought about this a lot, in particular, like with disappointment, and like that feeling and what it comes from, and disappointment is really like what you feel when someone doesn't meet your expectations that you have of them. And I'm not sure it's always fair to impose those expectations on other people. But in saying that, I still am a little disappointed just because of also who I am as a person and what I think I would have been able to do in that situation if I was him. I do think it would have hurt his persona a little bit, but like, he's Michael Jordan. And like, I know hindsight is 20/20, but he was still going to win the rings. He was still going to be the MVP and the scoring champion. Like, eventually his play, like it always did, would have outshined anything in his personal life. But I don't know. I don't know if it's, like I said, I don't know if it's fair to give him criticism, to say he should have done something. I think it's okay to say, I wish you would have. But I think this conversation should be more in the other way, where we celebrate the guys who do these kind of things.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you don't have to, and I can't force you, but you're choosing to do this anyway, which is awesome. And honestly, I'd rather you be, one way or the other than the back and forth you get with some of like more of today's athletes.
Yeah.
Where like they say one thing, and then the next time they talk and they realize all the people they pissed off, and then they walk it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
if you're gonna be about your money, great.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these guys do a lot of really good things with their money.
Mm-hmm.
But don't be both sides.
Yeah, no, dude, and it's true. Like kind of how what Vic was saying in the beginning of what he was saying, that he, like, we expect a lot from people. Like literally, you know, one of the, I can't remember if it was in the second or the you know, in episode 5 or 6, but you know, when they're just showing like just the demand, like people would just come up to him,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, like, you know, I don't want to say like being a celebrity is like woe is me, but you know, people will judge you for every single thing you do, right? If you don't tip them like $1,000, you know, for your meal, like, oh, he's cheap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's looking at you. If you don't take pictures, you know, if you're just, you know, if you're with your family and you don't stop to, then they think you're, you know, you're an a-hole or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing, man. People expect a lot of these athletes, and some, you know, they're just regular dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them don't want to be part of the conversation. What he's saying is you celebrate the guys who do. Like Jordan is never in that conversation.
Yep.
Right? Nor should he be, and nor will he ever say he should be in. Like he'll never say, "Oh, I should be with the likes of," you know, even a Colin Kaepernick or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like he will never be in that lane. But he's the greatest athlete, you know,
Mm-hmm.
One of the greatest basketball players of all time, if not the greatest.
Yeah.
And everything he did was to become that, and that's it. Like, that's all he was about.
Yeah, yeah, correct. He wanted to be the greatest basketball player of all time, and that was all. But I think there's a couple sides to this, and I don't know where I land, if I'm being honest. One thing I was thinking was, I kind of was like, what could you reframe this if you looked at MJ and said, when he said, well, Republicans buy shoes too, where he could have maybe felt like, oh, you guys don't call me for anything, but all of a sudden you want me to come help you for an election. You won't support me. I don't see you guys speaking about me publicly or helping my image in any way, but now it's election time and you need me to come help. Well, Republicans buy shoes too. You know what I mean? Could he have some sort of thought like that? I think one of the worst things that happened to him, and I always bring this up, is kind of what happens during the lockout. 5 years ago now? Is, you know, you kind of find out that in the meeting, he's one of the owners that's essentially trying to take power away from the players. And it, you know, when you look at this 2020 and you put this in the scope of that, you almost think, well, maybe he is conservative. Maybe he's just conservative in his beliefs, and he knows how damaging that would be to just come right out and be conservative. Who knows? I do think, though, that does he deserve criticism? I don't know. But I think that in a world when you see injustice, or if you know that there's injustice within your community and you have a platform to speak, I don't want to say it's as harsh as it's your responsibility to do it. But people having expectations of you doing it is fine too. Like, for example, if MJ got pissed off and said, man, fuck your expectations of what I should do, that would not be a fair reaction. He can't be angry that people have expectations of him. Listen, you're a young black athlete coming off of the country is still very racist, but you know, you're coming off the heels of like Jim Crow 20 years prior or whatever it is when you come into the NBA. You know, some of your heroes are speaking out. Bill Russell, guys you would have looked up to. You know, people are going to have expectations, but
yeah. And you know, no, and you know, I can't remember who said this, but it was like an activist of some sort, and he was saying how that you need those type, even though like they might not be as active, you still need those type of people in your community that almost that are bigger than everything. Yeah. So, you know, you need like the you know, the Oprahs, the Tyler Perrys, the, you know, the Michael Jordans, that though they might not be like like an activist, you know, in regards to some of the things that you kind of have like a more extreme side to. They're people who they bring the culture forward.
Yeah.
They bring a black face into that TV set, you know, and that is doing a part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's different lanes when it comes to, you know, getting our country kind of like on the right foot. And you know, and honestly, I don't think Jordan had any of that in his mind, but he just said, I'm a basketball player. And some people are completely, when it comes to stuff like that, they're like, yo, I don't know. And they don't want to speak on stuff that they don't know.
Yeah.
You know, and but like when they're showing the clips of that white senator, I was like, dang,
this motherfucker is a racist. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that schools are going to be segregated, but I am saying that white people are going to be allowed to send their school wherever they want to.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, I'm like, that I don't think you had to be that, you know, like even informed to be like, you know, and then, you know, you can't really blame, like, well, you know, could he have swung it? You know, that's, you know, neither here or there, you know, like what, you know, he could have endorsed, and then what, all the racist white people would be like, well, but Michael Jordan, you know, is, you know.
But it'll, you know, I think what it does do is it wakes up those minds that aren't paying attention. You know what I mean? The guy who is watching basketball but isn't paying attention to politics.
Yo. Yo. Justice for the blind, just something that'll find in the rhymes that are coming from my mind. Used to come